So I'll welcome everyone to our CUNA Council chat for today. And my name is Lucinda Athan. I'm here on council staff, and one of my jobs is to help out with sessions like these. And I think this one is a very interesting topic that our Tech Council Member Resources Committee came up with. And they invited the Operations Council and the Compliance and Risk Council to come and talk about the challenges of delivering the Amazon experience. And that's not only a technology and operations question, but it's a compliance question. You know, what are the regulations that we have to abide by that maybe other institutions or other organizations don't? And how do we meet those growing member demands for service and technology while meeting all of the other things that we need to deal with? So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting conversation today. And I see some of you saying hello to each other over there in the chat. I think that's a fantastic idea. That's why we're here, is to network, get to know each other, share some ideas. So feel free to get your fingers all warmed up over there. Let us know where you're coming in from, what credit union you're with, and then everybody will be all ready to go. So the one thing I did want to do is I wanted to go over some other upcoming events, because as a council member, remember that you do have access to virtual roundtables from other councils for your personal use. So we have some fun things coming up. We've got one on deposit growth this week. That's your finance buddies. I am doing a council's community tour in early September. September 2nd, we have one that should, I think, be very interesting on workplace and leadership assessments. I put that together for actually the mentor program people, but invited the rest of the council. We're bringing in someone with a long background in coaching and adult education and self-assessments to talk about things like the Big Five, the Enneagram, StrengthsFinders. How do you use these not only for your own personal development, but maybe for your team development? Because I know a lot of you are managers too, so you can look at that from both perspectives. Then the one that operations folks will be interested in is turning around a tough member. We're going to have a panel that comes in and speaks on that. And then the marketers are doing one around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So all of this is available out in the events area on the website. A couple of them you'll notice that the registration forms we're working on right now. Also a reminder that the fall conference is coming up. Virtual, so you don't have to miss anything. All of the sessions are recorded, so you can access any of it that's interesting to you. For the technology and the operations and member experience council folks, that's late September. And then for the compliance folks, your virtual conference is also happening late September. So jump in there. Council members get a 25% discount on registration for your conference. So I highly recommend that you attend those. And then these chats we're continuing to do for each council. So this is the Tech Council, and they invited a couple other groups to join them. But every council does do these every other month, so I recommend that you keep an eye on the schedule and get registered for the ones for your council, because they will talk about things that are pretty relevant to you. If you haven't attended one of these before, let me tell you a little bit about what we do. So we do have a series of questions we're going to talk about. We asked you to submit questions when you registered, and then Chris and Douglas got together and took a look at that and said, well, how do we build a framework for our conversation? That chat pod over there on the left is one way you can talk to each other. You can also jump on the phone. So I will put the phone number back in the chat pod when I'm done. It was also in your meeting notice. If you dial in, press *6. That will unmute your line, and you can say, hey guys, and they'll acknowledge you, and then you can ask your question live. Or if you want to expound on an answer, sometimes that's a better way to do it than typing it. So please don't be shy. Feel free to dial in. That's why the guys are here. And then we will put the transcript, the video, and the slides out after the event. And a note on the transcript and on the chat pod today. Again, we're trying to build peer networks here. So keep an eye out for people who are offering good ideas or maybe have a challenge that you could help them with. And note where they're from and their credit union, because when you go out in the council's community, we have a member directory there, and you can look people up and send them a personal connection if you choose, or a message. So it's kind of like LinkedIn, but it's closed to our members. So that's a nice way to keep some of these people in pocket for maybe later if you have a question, or next year when we get back to doing things live, you can roll up on someone and go, hey, I remember seeing you on a chat last year. My name's Lucinda. Let's get to know each other. Let's go have a coffee. So lots of fun things happening. But at this point, I will introduce our moderators. We've got Chris Carney, EVP and CIO from True West down in Tempe, where I used to live, the Phoenix area. Do you want to say hi to everybody, Chris?
Sure. Thanks, Lucinda. I started out with good morning, right? It's 11 a.m. in stunning Phoenix, Arizona. It's only 97 degrees. It's we call that cool in August, but recognize that we've got folks from around the country. So thanks for making time. I'll do my best to just help organize the conversation today, but really the content is with all of you. We're excited to hear your ideas and what's going on at your credit union and how we might implement some of those things across the credit union movement.
Excellent. And you are right, 97 is balmy for Arizona this time of year. Here in Wisconsin, it's supposed to be, I think, 85 and humid today, so it feels more like I'm in Louisiana with Douglas. So Douglas Robinson is VP of IT down in Baton Rouge. So why don't you say hi to folks too, Douglas?
Hello, everyone, and it's only 94 here. So we're a little bit closer than you all are in Arizona.
Although, I would say, Douglas, having been in both of them, I would take the 97 and not humid over the 94 and humid down
every
in
second
Louisiana.
of every day. The humidity is
Oh, yes. You have better food down there, but that humidity, not making me happy. But anyway, I will get out of the way now, gentlemen, and let you two get rolling on what I think is going to be a really interesting conversation. So take it away.
Well, awesome. Well, just right off the bat, I want to thank everyone for participating. Just based on the signups, we've got a really good mix of folks. 40 tech, 40 ops, and member experience. We tend to hang out together at conferences and things, but there's also compliance and risk folks on the phone, and maybe a handful of folks that are in the CEO role or in HR. So it truly is a cross-discipline topic that we're going to tackle today. We've got kind of four groups of questions or topics that Douglas and I organized. We'll spend 10 to 15 minutes on each and kind of move the conversation along. So the first thing we'd love to hear from you about is, what does the Amazon experience mean to you? Certainly we're all customers, right, of Amazon. We have things delivered to the door every day, but what does that experience mean? And if you want to start firing away in the chat, we'll get going.
And I know for myself that often means Amazon Prime and all the fast deliveries it means, next day service, etc. And I see we have convenience and quick and easy. Chris, do you use it for shipping mostly?
Oh gosh, Douglas, what isn't delivered to our homes via Amazon? I think I noticed yesterday in one of my alerts that the family has now subscribed to dog food. So I don't know if the kids did that or the dog did that, but the food is now just going to automatically show up.
And I know for myself that I'm disappointed nowadays when it takes 2 days for Amazon Prime delivery to happen. If it's not here the next day now, for me, it's too slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great comments in the chat. Easy, convenient, accessible.
And I like the one about scanning with barcodes. I have not done that.
So if that gets us warmed up and introduced, can the group kind of translate that to, what does the Amazon experience mean in financial services? Douglas, how do you do your banking today? Do you still stop by the branch, or is it mostly on your phone?
Well, it's easy to stop by the branch since I'm at the branch, but except for that, I do a lot of mobile banking today. It's more convenient most of the time.
Yeah.
I still use online services, mobile banking in terms of phone services, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ashley observed that, the experience is being available 24/7 to our members.
One thing I'll note, guys, this is Lucinda. I'm just going to chime in because I had a thought here. I used to build bank and credit union websites, so I've been kind of an online banking nerd for a very long time, but I have not had a financial institution in my own city for probably 10 plus years. So I think one of the things that Amazon means for the credit union industry is evolution. They've needed to evolve over time to add more capabilities, more remote access, things like Snap Deposit where you can take a picture of a check and submit it, getting into the Venmo P2P space, that type of thing. It sometimes happens slowly in our industry, but they get there. But that's what members are looking for. It's like, keep bringing me these updated things to make my life easier, which is what Amazon's always been fantastic at.
And Calvin
great
just posted
observation.
a comment about the lending life cycle all online. And that's extremely important for us and where we're trying to perfect.
Yeah, Amazon started as an online bookstore, right? We often forget that story. But Lucinda, you're right. It's been an evolution for now decades.
And Andrew commented that creating a one-of-a-kind experience that adheres to both societal and member needs. I'm kind of curious how the credit unions out there consider themselves in that area. Do you think you all are doing a good job? He noted that it can be challenging as tech is evolving, and that's true, absolutely true.
Yeah, Chris observes that, Amazon has in many ways set the standard for mobile service, right? We're being judged by that experience, not necessarily judged by another credit union standards or bank standards, but how easy is it to do business with Amazon?
And one other thing, sorry, I seem to have comments for this particular one. It's such an interesting topic. The other factor, too, is if you look at the average age of a credit union member, we're a tad on the older side. So some of us are willing to wait for that evolution, but how does that impact when you're trying to attract that much younger member who grew up natively in this, easy button environment? And how do you attract and retain that member?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ashley highlights that point, right, that we've got different demographics and different needs in our marketplace. Jennifer points out there's a challenge for risk. I think we're going to get to that in maybe our third segment around regulation and compliance.
And we've brought up another discussion point. What are the differentiators a CU could capitalize on to help us compete with the Amazon environment? Are there any Amazon-like goals that people are trying to move towards? Or non-Amazon-like goals, for that matter? And those silos of information, as Don points out, can be very difficult to get past with automated processing.
Ashley has a good observation around pricing, right? The more efficient that we can get as Amazon has become, right, the better pricing and rates we can offer our members. There's a magic to the economies of scale.
The other side to this too, and if any of you are familiar with the credit union awareness campaign that CUNE has been running for the last year and a half, is just the way we position ourselves as the good guys. And I look at it kind of this way. It's sort of the difference between buying local, if you live in an area where the local stores are like, hey, please come into my store and buy it here locally because the money stays here and we're involved in the community, versus buying it at, say, a Walmart. Not to throw shade at anybody in particular, but I think credit unions can also leverage that angle. It's like you're getting more than just a cheap price and slick technology, but how do you market that properly, and what demographic will that penetrate? Again, to go back to, that might resonate better with a 40-year-old than it will with an 18-year-old, but that is one of the differentiators that we're able to use to fight against the fact that other places might have better technology than we have.
And is that also in line with the question of your area that you can service as far as community-based credit unions and that sort of thing? Where do you expand to? And do some of these Amazon techniques lend themselves well to a smaller regional credit union?
Yep, this is true. Because if you want to get bigger than that, I mean, we even have some credit unions that are completely digital, and they have to compete in those waters. You know, you're right in there in the shark tank. You don't have a choice.
Well, outside of a few super large examples, many of us are there. There's lots of opportunity in our local markets to serve, right, in terms of market share. So, as we're able to improve our digital delivery skills, right, we can kind of bring that local service to the community in many ways in a hybrid environment, right, with both digital and a local branch presence. So as we kind of continue forward, right, we've got a sense of the Amazon experience. Let's maybe turn our attention to the technology side of the discussion. And are you, at your credit union, are you building these capabilities internally, or are you buying solutions to compete in this space?
I know for ourselves, Chris, that we tend to go the vendor route for our online services. We're not hosting a lot of anything internally ourselves. We rely on applications that we purchase.
Yeah, I agree, Douglas. We're in the buy camp, and the work that we put in is largely the integration or the glue between those solutions.
Andrew, what kind of agencies have come in, out, and teach you to go in those directions? Any recommendations?
And Cynthia brought up teaming up with fintechs. Cynthia, do you have any favorites you want to type into the chat and share with us? Jessica and Ashley are both brave and say that they're doing a bit of their own development in-house. And thank you, Cynthia, for the response. That's awesome.
And we've moved on to the next discussion point, which is how do you see the face of digital banking changing as a result of competition from the fintech industry? For ourselves, I'm not sure that we're seeing the changing yet. We're still in our adoption phases. How about you, Chris?
Well, with respect to fintechs, I think there's two sides of that discussion, right? There's the fintechs that are coming to eat your lunch. Maybe it's Chime, right? And then there are fintechs like the partner Cynthia mentioned that are here to help us deliver value to our members, right? So we kind of sit in a space where, at least from my perspective at True West, right, we can't do it alone. We need those partnerships in order to face the digital banking competition in the marketplace.
And I see the comment from Calvin about direct deposits being a little early. Do a lot of others make deposits available early to your members? We do here. Oh yes, the stimulus payments. That was a lot of fun getting those out there to members. It's good.
Yeah, we've seen numerous opportunities this past year. Stimulus payments, many credit unions took advantage of the PPP loans, right, and deliver those things in electronic fashion.
And not to bring the other side in there, but I'm also seeing that in the banking industry also. A lot of banks are moving towards that and advertising that capability. It's funny for us because we've been doing that for a while, but they're advertising that they can now do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chime really got folks' attention this year. By the way, just a plug for the council chats. If you are interested in doing early ACH, there's a ton of reference material out there. Many credit unions have implemented this across a variety of cores. So just a plug for that available reference for us all. And last question on the technology side, what technology or apps do you see your members using that we should replicate? Whoa, Jennifer goes big with Venmo right out of the gate. Several votes for Zelle. Looks like P2P is popular.
We are still looking at the P2P arena. We haven't moved forward in it yet.
Mm-hmm. One of the challenges that we see when we discuss P2P is that, a platform like Venmo is not only widely adopted, but it's also free, right? It's hard to compete with free. A couple of votes for Credit Solutions. That's awesome. Douglas, there's a little crypto in there. That's probably another chat.
And I'm curious about how many other credit unions are interested in the crypto field. I would have thought that we'd be an area that would be further behind than others in that particular area. And always remember too, if you want to ask a question out loud, you can use *6 to unmute your line and ask people directly if you're not comfortable typing. And let's end up with the full instructions in there.
There we go. And slowly turning the corner towards regulation, we've got a question out there. How can we help our members avoid fraud through some of the newer channels such as Zelle and Cash App?
I'm curious, Andrew, do you have a lot of luck with educational videos for your members?
Alvin's got a good idea out there with Acorns. I mean, if you've got an idea for an Amazon-like member service, chances are there's a fintech out there that at least gets you in the ballpark, that's for sure. Well, let's talk regulation next, right? I know this is an area that, as a technologist, right, as we push the envelope with new products and services and capabilities, there's often a regulatory discussion just to think about how does that new product or service fit into our landscape. So with that, what reasonable constraints do we have when considering remote delivery?
And I just wanted to make special note of Jennifer's comment there about education coming after an incident, and that's absolutely true, unfortunately. What kind of reasonable constraints would you think we're talking about here, Chris?
Well, I think first off is just a risk assessment of the service, right? There was a comment in the chat that, some of these P2P solutions require the member to enter their credit union bank information, right? So what transaction level risk does that produce for the credit union, or is there identity risk, or is there reputation risk if a member was to be taken advantage of? So those are some of the things that come to my mind.
would be including things like time for delivery, say, holds on check deposits and that sort of thing in constraints.
Mm. A great observation. I recall we had to go through many of these conversations years ago with mobile remote deposit capture, right? And yet that's a pretty mainstream service today in our credit union world.
But still, a lot of the concepts from that area do apply well to some of the newer technology features.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we operate within those boundaries? Are you all out there applying automated procedures from vendors or ones that you've developed in-house, or are you still seeing a lot of manual work, whether that's authorizing individual transactions or anything like that?
Andrew and Caroline both provide some insights here. Yeah, Andrew makes a really good point that while we may have automation and tech innovation, right, there still needs to be oversight of those processes and the appropriate controls. I think that's something that our credit union folks are really, really good at.
Do you do it in conjunction with both the automated tools and manual review afterwards, or the reverse? How does it work for you?
Well, I think, Douglas, one thing that we've learned in our, specifically to our FinTech journey the last couple of years, is that it's important to have all the voices at the table early on in the process, right? Not just the technology folks or the process folks, but also risk and compliance, right? Because there's quite a bit of new activity there that you need to work out those details. Thanks, Andrew. I might have learned that one the hard way. What have other folks seen that's helping them innovate while staying compliant? All right,
And we've
Douglas,
moved on
I
to a
think
couple
we've
more
lost
questions.
them.
Well, I think it's an interesting question about the tension between innovation and compliance. It's the whole risk management thought process. And
Yeah.
do you come down on the side of more risk or less risk?
Yeah.
I think in our particular case, we're a little more risk averse than some others.
Yeah.
So we'll do things like with, say, remote deposit capture. We'll have
Mm-hmm.
longer hold times than other organizations might have. We do deposits through ATMs, and we have pretty long periods for new members before we allow them to use ATM deposits and that sort of thing.
Sure. Douglas, I think that's really smart to look back at successful innovations that we brought to market in the industry and figure out, hey, how can we replicate that? Thinking forward, one concept we talk about on the tech side is agile development, and concepts like minimal viable products, pilots, et cetera, giving everyone an opportunity to kind of see and feel the new solution, find out where the edges are, because truly we don't have it all figured out on day one. And that allows, right, our business folks, our tech folks, our compliance folks all to collaborate. Calvin, thanks for the comment there. It looks like you're well staffed to support this and put some organization behind it.
And I'm sure having 4 analysts helps you a lot. In our particular case, we're smaller. We have 1.
Sure. Calvin also notes that, consulting outside resources is often helpful. Well, let's move on to use cases. That could be a little more interesting, right? We have a poll that Lucinda's put together for us to find out how many of us are using chatbots today.
And we have several organizations out there that are currently using it. I'd really like to hear how that's working for y'all, because we're in a situation we're still exploring. We're not sure if we're going to go in that direction or not.
Another strong response from Chris. I love that.
Yes, I know this is something that council members are really interested in, to see how it's being implemented and people who enjoy it. So I don't know if anybody who's been doing it for a while, if you're on the phone, it'd be awesome if you jump on and tell us a little bit about how that's worked out, what your members thought about it. The phone number's in there. If you press *6, that will unmute your line. I think that'd be welcome info.
Katrina notes they've got a chatbot with an option to reach a live agent. Douglas, do you have a chatbot at your credit union yet?
No, not in the traditional sense. Of course, we have IVR functionality, that sort of thing, but nothing of the full AI kind of genre.
We launched Trudy we launched Trudy just this past year, and we're pretty early on in our journey. I like to describe Trudy as an electronic greeter, right? She's really smart at being able to provide general answers to our members, right? But we're working on expanding the capability. Several credit unions have figured out the transition to a live agent. That's awesome.
Is anyone approaching the point where your members can't tell the difference between a chatbot and a real person?
Oh, I don't know about that.
No one's Google, huh?
Douglas, it's funny you say that because I actually was talking to what I thought was a chatbot a while ago. I think it was the cable company or something like that. And I asked if it was a chatbot, and I think I offended the guy, but he was following scripts because, they have really specific scripts that they're supposed to use to respond to people. And yeah, he was actually a human, but I thought he was a chatbot just because of the way he was talking to me. So sometimes you have different problems with that. The problem with
And
scripting things too
I've
much. If
fallen
you
into
make
that
them
before
too
where
boring,
I'm not quite sure.
yeah, if you make them too boring and too real specific, then you presume that they're not human. So, oops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ashley points out that, again, we need to keep regulation and compliance in mind. I know at our credit union, any answer that Trudy provides is something that's been vetted by several departments, including compliance.
Is your system providing generic answers to people or account-specific answers? How deeply do you go?
So today, Douglas, it's just general answers, and we're working on the back-end integration that will help us with authenticated, personalized responses. So this
And we've
ties a
moved
little
on
bit
to
into our
questions about
next.
the call.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think it ties in really well, right? Because we're thinking about providing noticeable improvements in the contact center.
Have there been any challenges with call centers and moving people outside of brick and mortar organizations to answer calls with COVID and working from home?
Yeah, Jennifer has a interesting chat here about appointment scheduling. So in a way, a bridge between that digital and in-person experience for the member.
Jennifer, do you all schedule appointments for people to come in, or is this something they need to you schedule for your staff as they come in, like a lobbying?
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So offering video banking appointments through the scheduling app.
Yeah, that is an interesting one, Katrina. What kind of services are you using for that?
New loans, new accounts. Might put up our last, we might put up our last use case. And that ties in well, right? With the pandemic environment, opening accounts has become a challenge for many credit unions, and it looks like this is one avenue to help with that.
One other question I would ask about the call center before we move too far on from that is, does anyone find that they're providing service for calls more after hours than they would have done before, or is it still limited to Monday through Friday, 8 to 5?
Thank you, Ashley, for the response. Douglas, it looks like we've got a pretty good mix around support.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we have to look at here is, do we become more of a 24/7 shop or closer to a 24/7 shop? You don't need anything in the middle of the night, but because delivery times change with the ability to do things through the internet.
Well, just a thought around the Amazon experience. I don't know that I've ever talked with anyone in Amazon. Right, almost all of their their capabilities are primarily electronic.
I actually talked to someone on Sunday because of
Yeah.
this delivery. Yes, I was surprised.
Well, and here we've got a whole string of responses to kind of different mix and match around account opening solutions to provide that after hours experience for new accounts. And we may have breezed through this, but all of these e-sign solutions that folks are sharing, are credit unions confident that they're compliant? The electronic disclosure delivery is compliant with the e-sign Act? Douglas, there's a little bit of a couple of comments around kiosk solutions. I'm not very familiar with that.
And I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Around what solutions?
Kiosk solutions.
Kiosks. We've looked at it a little bit here, but it's not a direction we've moved in yet. And in some cases, I don't know if people are talking about full standalone virtual terminals sitting in lobbies, or if they're talking about something along the lines of a tablet set up in a lobby. But we've looked at both solutions. And one time we looked at ATM machines for drive-up that have more full kiosk capabilities also.
Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of a thread going now in the chat around IVR and telephone banking services.
And we still have a large portion of that here ourselves. It's you wouldn't think so, but a lot of our members still love coming in through a traditional IVR.
Yeah, we've seen our membership and accounts grow over the years, and yet, yeah, telephone IVR banking, it still kind of floats out there, right? There's some diehard users. So this is probably just a good observation of how, we're being challenged to deliver new and innovative services on one side of the continuum, and yet continue to support perhaps some more legacy solutions on the other side.
And some of that may come down to age groups. I know that our older members absolutely love finding out their balances by going through a telephone dial-up where they won't go online to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, Douglas,
That's
I
the
think that was
challenge,
our
isn't it, guys?
that was our last use case. Any, Douglas, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just excited about a lot of things that will be happening in the future. I'm one of those people who has really grown to love Amazon, and anything that they can do that I can integrate into our procedures here within compliance and other regulation restrictions, of course. I'm excited about that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think we all love our Amazon services, right? And, I want to continue to see the credit union, my credit union, and the entire industry thrive in the future, right? So to the degree that as technologists, right, we can help deliver those solutions, I'm excited. And also know that partnering with our business subject matter experts and our regulatory experts, that's the way we're going to get it done, right, is working together as a team to bring those solutions forward. So yeah, we would look forward to continuing these chats through the Council's discussion forum and the upcoming conference. The more we can share ideas with one another, certainly the better we'll all be in the future.
Definitely. And on that note, I'll just remind people that we do have archives of other chats and virtual roundtables out in that resources section on the website. We will get this up there as well for you, including the transcript. So if you want to reach out to any of your fellow members, you can do that. Look them up in the Council's community directory. Probably next week would be my guess. And then, as Douglas mentioned, continue the conversation out in the Council's community. We've got one for each council, tech, operations, compliance, everybody. I will note, hopefully you saw my email this morning, we are going through some system upgrades here at CUNA, technology, right? But it has made it so our communities are offline at the moment. They are supposed to come back up on Friday. And when you do go out to our website or CUNA.org, you will need to reset your password if you have not been out there since our upgrade launched on Friday. So exciting things happening here too. Evolution in technology. We're not Amazon yet, but I think you will find it much easier to check out and buy things on the CUNA website than it was a week ago. So it's been a very long time coming, so we're getting there ourselves. But thank you again to our two hosts. Excellent job. Thanks to everybody who joined us today. It's always exciting to sit in on these conversations and hear what's going on and the creative solutions that people are coming up with to serve our membership. It's really, really exciting. So any other last thoughts from either of you gentlemen? Chris?
No, thank you, Lucinda, for keeping us organized and getting us together. These are really valuable to all of us.
Yep. And how about you,
Yes,
Douglas?
thank you, Lucinda, for all of that. And I appreciate everyone who joined in the conversations today.
Indeed, me too. Everybody have a great week, great weekend. And yes, remember the conference is coming up this fall, and someday next year, hopefully we can see each other all in person. But until then, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, folks.